Hey friends, are you looking for the perfect recipe to use up that leftover ham from the holidays? Well, this is it. Cheesy scalloped potatoes and ham. So good. This is my mom's recipe and I was so excited to make it. You're going to start by using about 3 or 3.5 pounds of potatoes, and you just need to peel those. So I'll speed this up. I just peeled the potatoes and put them in a bowl of cold water to sit while I got everything else ready. Now, I loved this as a kid, and I was so excited that my mom was going to share this recipe with me. She has it from the Betty Crocker cookbook, but she has all her little notes beside of it of how she tweaks it, and I love that because I also love to tweak recipes. So I cut up 1 small onion and put it in a big pan on the stove with 5 tablespoons of butter. And while that's starting to cook, to get those onions tender, we're going to slice up our potatoes. So I just brought them out of that cool water, patted them dry with a paper towel, and then I'm going to slice those up. And I'll speed this up because it did take a while, but I'll show you exactly how thick I made these. About 1/4 inch or so. You want them to be thin, not too thin so they stay together, but thin enough that they cook within the amount of time in the oven. So once I had those sliced up, we're going to head back over to the stove and finish making this roux. So we're going to add in 4 tablespoons of flour. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but I love to use things up. I hate things going to waste. So because we had this leftover ham and we had some potatoes that were starting to grow eyes, I was like, I need a recipe to use these things up, and this was perfect. Now, when you're making this roux, you want to make sure that you stir it around a little bit, but you just want to make sure that that flour gets fully cooked on the stove for about 2 minutes or so. So sometimes I leave it sit for a few seconds and then I'll stir it again just to make sure that flour gets nice and cooked. Now to this, we're going to add 3.5 cups of milk. And as you're putting that in, I suggest that you keep on whisking so you make sure that you get all those lumps out of there. And I just put mine in slowly and keep on whisking. And again, that was 3.5 cups of milk for this recipe. And now the next ingredient is American cheese. And you're going to be like, oh, there's so many more better cheeses like cheddar. But really, you really want to use this sliced American cheese. It melts so well in here. And you'll notice it doesn't like curdle up like some other cheeses will. This is really the perfect cheese to use for this. I used about 9 slices. And then I just stirred this on the stove until that sauce started to thicken up and that cheese was nice and melted, and you can see it turn this golden color. And now at this point you could add some seasonings, but I do actually like to add them right at the end after I put the ham in, just to make sure that everything's not too salty. But I'm going to add in these potatoes and we're going to let those get cooking. This really just gives it a head start. I like to simmer these for about 5 or 10 minutes just so they start to get all warmed up. Otherwise, if you put it in the oven at that point, it'll take a lot longer to cook. Now here's our leftover ham from the holidays, and I'm just going to slice this up. This was a Smithfield sliced ham. It does not matter what kind of ham you use. Any kind of leftover ham will work just fine. I just sliced this up into little cubes to add into our potatoes. Now we'll go back over to the pot and you see we have a nice simmer happening. We're going to add in some seasonings now. I did the just pepper and salt, and then I added the ham. You might want to not add any salt until after you taste it once you add in that ham. Because of the cheese in the ham, there is a lot of salt, so you just want to add a sprinkle if you do put any in at all. I suggest not putting any other spices in because I like it just like this, but it's really to your taste. Now we're going to spray a 9 by 13 inch pan with some Pam so that this doesn't stick to it. And then we're going to pour in our scalloped potatoes. I just leveled these out. And we're going to cook this covered for 45 minutes at 350 degrees. After the 45 minutes, then you want to take that cover off and cook it for an additional 30 minutes. So this does take about 1 hour and 15 minutes to cook in the oven, but you just set it in there and forget it. So it is super simple. Now, after this 1 hour and 15 minutes, we're going to pull this out and you can see it got a nice brown top after I took that foil off. This is very hot and bubbly. You can see all those bubbles. You're going to want to let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes. Once it's rested, we're going to scoop that out, and you can see how nice and creamy this is. It has a really nice cheesy flavor. This is so good. It just really takes me back to my childhood because my mom made this for us with all the leftover ham from the holidays. I really hope that you guys try this recipe. It's so good. It's the perfect comfort food and just a great way to use up that leftover ham after the holidays. Thanks for watching, everyone.